Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Becca Jo, aka the Makeup Tax Lady. Today we are doing what is hopefully going to be a very helpful video with as much thoroughness as I can give it regarding Sydney Grace's new mineral powder foundation. I picked up samples of what I believe to be all of the shades, so we are going to do some swatches. At the end, I'm going to put some on my face to attempt to figure out what would be my best shade match. And while this is really just going to be kind of a first impression, I probably won't get any details into how the foundation wears, how it looks on the skin, all of that. We're really just looking at the shades. I still want it to be helpful, and I want it to be a resource for you so that if you're trying to figure out what shade you might be, maybe this video can help point you in the correct direction. I have not yet picked up any full size of the foundation. I figured since I was picking up all of the samples, I might as well check out which of the samples I think will be the best match for me, and then I can snag one of the full size foundations after that. This is Sydney Grace's first delve, as to my knowledge, into the complexion world. They have a setting powder that is my absolute favorite everyday go-to setting powder. They call it their Cloud 9. You'll see here how I have so very little left, yet it's a large component. It comes with a lot. So I have used this almost in its entirety. I also have a good majority of their powder blush singles. I have several of their cream blushes. I have several of their powder highlighter singles and cream highlighters. I also have a couple powder bronzers and cream bronzers that are not available on the site. I've gotten them through mystery bags and such. But yeah, to my knowledge, this is their first step into the complexion world. So that said, I'm really not sure how Sydney Grace is going to define their different shades. They have two categories on the website. They have a cool toned and a warm toned. We'll get into this more later. I personally consider myself a very neutral shade. I don't prefer anything that's too warm or too cool. So we'll see. The fact that they don't have a neutral shade range in there, we'll see if I can make the other shades work for me. Hey guys, Editing Becca Jo here. I wanted to jump in and show you that Sydney Grace has updated their website a little bit. We now have a little bit better descriptions of what they are defining as cool toned and warm toned. Up on the left of your screen, you'll see one of the pictures that Sydney Grace is using on the website to show their options for cool tone shades. And the website reads, Sydney Grace mineral foundations are lightweight, full coverage powder foundations. The BU foundations are best suited for neutral to cool skin tones with blue undertones. For warmer skin tones with red undertones, try our mineral foundations for warm undertones. Speaking of warm undertones, here is the description for the warm undertones with the shades listed on the right. Sydney Grace mineral foundations are lightweight, full coverage powder foundations. The RU foundations are best suited for warm skin tones with red/pink undertones. For cooler skin tones with blue undertones, try our mineral foundations for cool undertones. The rest of the description is the same for the cool and the warm shades. It says, our mineral foundation is easy to layer for a fuller coverage with skin smoothing effect, but can also be worn as a lightweight, light to medium coverage. For a smooth, full coverage application, use the included powder puff. If a lighter coverage is desired, we recommend our F04 foundation brush. Our foundations are made with natural, clean, vegan ingredients. There are no harsh chemicals, parabens, or fragrance in our foundations. The full-size product contains 15 grams, and you can see the list of ingredients below. If it looks like this makeup has been on all day, it's because it has. It is nighttime and it's time for me to wash this makeup off, but I really just wanted to jump on camera so that I can show you these beautiful new goodies that I got. So I love the fact that Sydney Grace did these sample sets. You get 6 shades in a range in one sample set, and to get one of these sample sets is $3. So I think it's a great opportunity to pick up just a few of the shades in the kind of general shade range that you think you might be in, and from there you can figure out which of those shades is best for your skin tone. Many of these little sample sets too overlap each other. So like this is the grouping of 1 through 6 in the cool toned range. If you think maybe I'm a 6 or a 7, you wouldn't have to get 2 sample sets. So this is 1 through 6. The next option is 5 through 10, and then after that 8 through 12. So there's a little bit of an overlap in the shades. So that said, I have 5 in each the cool tone and the warm tone, and that covers, I believe, all of the shades. So there were 3 of the sample sets that I was able to eliminate when I was just looking at the whole shade range. I still have a couple duplicates here, I believe, but like I said, for the deal that they are, I'm not worried about it. I'm also kind of hoping that maybe some of these shades would work for me as a loose bronzer so that I can make sure I use up as many of the samples as possible. I think that'll be fun to play around with. So I have not opened these little bags or the little components at all just yet. I've taken some pictures and I'm ready to dig on in. I must say, I appreciate the way that they're packaged. So not that it's a guarantee that there won't be any sort of spilling or anything, but I like that they're all in a little component. It looks like there's going to be more than enough product in each component to thoroughly test and figure out which shade I would prefer. And then because they're in this Ziploc bag, they haven't spread anywhere, even if the component would have opened. I don't think in any of mine that it looks like the component has opened, but I appreciate the extra level of security. Okay, hopefully you're able to see these all right. Starting with my right pinky, we have BU1, BU2, and BU3 in this hand. And over here we have BU4, 5, and 6. And I'll flip them around so you can see the front side of each one. I don't know if this is much more helpful, but here we have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I'm going to open one up and then we'll start swatching on the arm. I'm starting by just kind of tapping the powder product from the cap down back into the component, just to hopefully avoid throwing powder everywhere. And there she is. Hopefully you're able to see that. I'm using my back camera, trying to get the best quality that I can here, so I've got my separate monitor down here. There's no perfumey smell to the foundation. If anything, there's just, sounds like a bad thing to say chemical smell, but it's just kind of like a clean smell. It's not any imposed fragrance that I can tell. So this is the shade BU1, very soft to the touch. Hopefully you can see my fingerprint there. Here is BU1 on my fingertip. There is BU1 on my wrist. And I'm not gonna walk through each one this closely. I just want to show you kind of the process of how I'm doing this. I must say that feels incredibly silky to the touch, and it looks very natural so far on the skin. I am swatching these on the back of my arm, and I have arm hair, so if you see it catching, that's what that is. It'll be easier to get the most surface space by going this way as opposed to trying to use the inside of my arm or anywhere else. So we are going to start this way and get as many as I can on my arm. Okay, so here on my wrist we have BU1, BU2, and BU3. So these are of the cool tone range. I will say to note, if you do get the sample sets, these are kind of messy when you open them, so try to be very gentle to avoid losing as much product as possible. Also note that I am trying to leave these more opaque, so I'm not blending them out on my skin, just to kind of help give a better idea of the color. If I blend them out too much, I think they'll kind of dissipate and you won't be able to see the color quite as well. Okay, I'm already getting this on my shirt, but I did wear a black shirt and then choose to do a powder foundation swatch, whatever. Okay, so we've got, again, 1, 2, and 3 of the cool tone shades. Here we have 4, 5, and 6. And I'm definitely not going to be able to fit as many on my arm as I had hoped. So I might end up moving to the inside of my arm once we get through all of these. So far though, I'm thinking 5 might be a good skin tone match for me. In the next grouping, we have duplicates of 5 and 6, and then we have 7, 8, 9, and 10. I will note that some of these have less foundation in them than the first one, so just keep in mind it's probably a little bit variable. I don't know if they're measured by weight or just kind of an eyeball. Since they are samples, they're not really a full-size product and you're not paying full price for it. So just one thing to note, I know I haven't shown you all of the little tubs as we've gone along, and so the ones that you grab may not have quite as much as that first one. Okay, starting at the bottom here, we've got 10, 9, 8, and 7. In this grouping, we have a duplicate of number 10, and then we have 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. I must say, when I'm getting to these deeper shades especially, they feel creamy to the touch. They have that beautiful Sydney Grace quality where they're a powder, but they're so finely milled that they have a creamy-like quality to them. Forgive my cat knocking at the door. So here we have shades 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Since we can see 15, 14, 13 here, I'm going to start with the next group and just try to swatch them this way, and then we'll go up my arm so that hopefully you can still compare these shades to the deeper shades that we'll add into this side. There are no crossovers here from the previous bunch, so we have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Okay, here we are with that next group. So we have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. 16 compared to 15, 14, 13. Hopefully you can see some of the different undertones going on in these shades. Ignore my weird chin in the background. And this grouping actually had 7 shades in it. So we had duplicates of 19, 20, and 21. And here we've got 22, 23, 24, 25. And here are the final swatches for the cool toned grouping. Trying to make sure I'm in frame for all of this. So we've got shade BU 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, here's 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, that was fun. I don't know about you. I'm a little warm. I am going to switch over to the next arm, and I think I'm going to attempt to do the same thing. I think that's working out just fine to start going down this way and then to go back up this way. And we are going to go into the warm shades. Here we are starting the warm shades. We have RU number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, here on this arm, we have RU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is the first sample set of the warm tone swatches. A lot of these groupings are like the cool tone, so we have duplicate of 5 and 6, and then we have 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, here's our next set of swatches. We have warm toned RU 10, 9, 8, and 7. We have in this sample set a duplicate of number 10, so then next we have 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So here for this set of swatches we have 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10. So from here, I'm going to attempt to work on the inside of my elbow here and go back up. We have no crossovers in this grouping, so we have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Hopefully you can see this all right and it's focusing on my arm and not on my face. But we have, starting at the top here, RU 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, and then back over here is 15. We are on to the last group of swatches, folks. This one has duplicates of 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So there's 7 in this sample set. And this is 22 and 23. I will compare everything from the cool armed side to the warm armed side here in just a minute. But let's finish out our swatches. We have RU 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15 over here, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Based on the picture that I can see online, I think that the full-size powder mineral foundations come in a similar component to the setting powder. So if we unscrew this super metallic top, we have a slotted top here and the powder is underneath. I like to tip it upside down, give it a couple taps, tip it back over, give it a couple taps again. That'll take the product that you just tapped into the top of the cap kind of down back into where those slots are. And then you still have some product on here. I like to use the top, the inside of the lid to kind of spread the product out more evenly on the brush when I'm using the setting powder. But now we have more product inside here in the component itself. And that way, since we tapped it back off, it gets kind of that powder back down into this component. So it's not a bunch of powder sitting in here that you then put on top and now I just dumped powder everywhere. I overall really like this component, and this has been so much, it's taken me quite some time to get through because there's a lot of product in here for a translucent setting powder. I am not complaining. I think that that will make the component valuable for having a full foundation in there, because you'd likely be using more of the foundation than you would of just a setting powder, at least in my experience. Okay, let me attempt to do a side-by-side comparison of the warm and cool. So here on this arm, we have the cool tone shades, and on this arm, we have the warm tone shades. So I would say that there's not a crazy difference in terms of what's a cool undertone and what's a warm undertone. Maybe I would say that overall the cooler side has a little bit more pink leaning, and the warm side has a little bit more orange or peach leaning. Not in a bad way. I think they all look very reflective of the respective skin tones. And I apologize that these swatches are kind of awkward, but I'm really trying my best. So once again, here are shades 1 through 15. Even though I have other foundation and my makeup is a day old at this point, I want to place just a couple on my cheek and neck to see if I can figure out what might be my best shade match. I'm kind of thinking on this arm, RU3, the warm shade in 3 might be my better bet. And on this arm, keep in mind too that my arms are a little bit tanner than my face. I have a smidge of self-tanner on right now, but it's not in full force by any means. I don't have like, what is your MAC shade? But I generally go for the deepest or deeper end of a fair shade when I'm picking out a foundation or complexion shade. So something in the fair light category. And like I said previously, I prefer a neutral tone for the most part. A lot of times when I get shade matched, I'm told that I'm a cool undertone, and I think I have some rosiness in my skin, but when I use a cool tone a lot of times as a base product, it looks off to me. So I think my personal preference anyway is to reach for something in the neutral category, not too rosy, not too yellow for certain. I do have this e.l.f. concealer in the shade Light Peach that seems to match me almost perfectly, and that's kind of bizarre to me because I'm not a crazy big e.l.f. fan, but this is one product that I very much enjoy from the brand, and it's a really great shade match for me. Another really great shade match that I have is this IT Cosmetics concealer serum. I never know the name of this. Bye Bye Dark Spots. This is Light Neutral 22. I also really like this Bobbi Brown liquid concealer. This is the shade Porcelain. And in my Complexion Rescue by Bare Minerals, which is what I'm wearing or was wearing today, what's left of it, this is the shade Birch 1.5. So all of that just for skin color reference, that's about my zone. So I'm going to reach for RU number 3 and BU number 5, I think. And let's see how those look. There is BU 5. And there is RU 3. Those two side by side, I can definitely see a little bit more peachy, warm undertone to the warm tone side. I'm actually going to bump up this cool tone shade one more, and I'm going to test number 6. I think looking at these swatches on my cheek right now, I don't think RU3 is a bad shade, but it definitely, I can see the warmth, the undertone coming through. So I think BU6 might actually be my best bet. And when I had looked at them online, I was guessing either BU4 or RU2 because I'm like about guessing my own shade matches, so it wasn't too far off. I do think though, I have to say, and I definitely think you can tell from the swatches here, that the warm tone side seems to get deeper quicker. I mean, I think the bottom shades and the top shades, so bottom shades, top shades, I feel like those are pretty comparable from side to side, but a lot of these in the middle, this side, the warm side, deepens up a smidge faster. And maybe part of that is just on my skin tone, what's coming through. But yeah, so there's that, folks. I will definitely keep testing this, and I'm super excited to pick out a shade. At full price, the mineral foundation, the full size, I believe is $16, which is remarkable in this day and age to have a reasonably priced complexion product, let alone the fact that it's made in the USA. It's got great ingredients, including no perfumes, no fragrance added, and it's made by an independently owned brand. I have a huge appreciation for the family and friends that work for, own, and are involved in Sydney Grace. I am a huge supporter of the brand. I love so many of their products. I have an entire playlist talking about my Sydney Grace stuff, including some of the other things that I picked up during Christmas in July. So if you like to talk about Sydney Grace, or if you're curious about any of those other items, 2024 mystery bags, feel free to check out that playlist. I'll make sure it's linked in the description. Like I said previously, if you have any thoughts or comments or specific ideas for these samples, please feel free to reach out. Leave me a comment, shoot me a message over on Instagram, and I would be happy to continue the conversation or do what I can to help. If you liked the video, I'd love it if you'd like the video. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd love it if you'd consider becoming a subscriber. Those things all really help me build my channel, and I love this little community that we're building around here, and I would love to see you become a part of that. So thank you once again for being here today, and I hope to see you in the next one.